Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're watching us. My name is Craig DeLuz. I'm your host for The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news with conservative views. Now, as we know, I don't do this program by myself.
Hey, welcome to Thirsty Thursday edition of the Rundown. I am your co-host, Mike Piwowarski.
Okay, so Thirsty Thursday, that's what we're going to call it. So in other words, we're like pushing towards Friday. It's been a long week, and we're going to get to Friday, and we're gonna
I,
handle our business.
I was talking about like water or other fluids rich in nutrients. I don't know what you're referring to by.
As you sit in the bourbon room.
Well, that's just a prop. That's not really there. That's just it's a green screen. It's a
Okay,
green
so
screen.
anybody who's been watching knows that is not exactly the truth, but okay, you go with that. You
Well, the wall in there is green, so I mean,
but hey, we are like pushing towards Friday because this Friday is going to be a very special day.
oh boy, it is. We're right now we're 24 hours away from Feedback Friday and little bits of love coming at you from Grid Defense. Somebody's gonna win themselves a 80% piece of aluminum. We can't say what it is because we don't want to get throttled backwards, but this is what you're gonna get from Grid Defense tomorrow on Feedback Friday.
Exactly. So all you got to do is tune in, make your comments, and may the best comment win. Please know that while we are all adults here, let's try and be
Adulty.
sensitive. If there's any, people have any sensitive eyes or ears who may be watching or commenting.
That's right. That's right. Because we like young conservatives as well, so we want them to be included.
Yes, we don't want to negatively influence any youngins who might tune in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That means a lot of our friends are going to be disqualified from this activity. So,
You know who you are.
yeah, every one of you, you know who you are. Exactly right.
Oh man! All right, so hey, let's. Why don't we just go ahead and dive right into today's news topics?
Let's do
Um,
it.
the number one thing that I have listed here as a news topic was something that really kind of hit my radar because of where I live here in California, where I call the main place I call home. We have this thing here called gun violence restraining orders. In fact, we were one of the first states to institute it. It's called very similar to what most of the country calls red flag laws, where basically someone can go to court, deem you to be a danger to yourself or others, and have your rights and your guns confiscated. Well, in California, you have the California Department of Justice is now bragging. They are bragging that they have confiscated nearly 1,300 firearms in 2020. During the pandemic, nearly 1,300. That's up from 1,200 the year before. Now, the thing, Mike, that really gets me about this is that they're not really brag. They don't really brag about the number of of gun deaths that they've stopped, because guess what? They haven't stopped any. Violent crime shootings are up in the state of California as a whole. They haven't bragged about mass shootings. Guess what? There's still mass shootings taking place in the state of California. The only number that they have to brag about is the number of firearms confiscated.
Isn't it ironic, Craig, that they're telling you the number of the guns as if that's the number? Well, listen, these 1,300 guns are off the street, so these 1,300 guns will not be committing crimes. They talk about them like they're sentient beings and they're out doing things on their own. I remember we talked about this in a story in New York out of Buffalo, how they were going through the obituaries and comparing the names of the obituaries to firearm ownership, and if they were anybody on there, they went and seized the guns as if the guns were the ones themselves doing the crimes. And now that the owners had passed, they couldn't control the guns anymore. This is the same thing going on there in California. And by the way, those are rookie numbers compared to some of the counties in Florida. We've got 3 counties in Florida that have well surpassed those numbers with 3 of the most liberal sheriffs in the state. But yeah, it's not the gun itself that's the problem, folks. When are we going to understand this? It's not the gun that's the problem. It's not the DUI. It's not the car that does the DUI. It's not the spoon that makes you fat. Okay, the gun's not the issue.
Well, this is the thing. So at UC Davis, University of California, Davis, which is like right across the way here from here in Sacramento.
Right.
They actually have a guy named Garen Wintemute who is a researcher, who is an anti-gun researcher, who gets $5 million a year from the state of California to basically falsify studies in order to take our firearms.
Yeah.
They studied 21 instances of where firearms were confiscated, right?
Right.
And now, of all of these instances, they only studied 21. And here's what's funny about it. The state of California only gives the data, the information about these things to them. And even they're fighting with the California Department of Justice because California Department of Justice won't give them all of the information. And the reason why is because they don't really want us to know the full information. Like, for example, we went through and kind of backed through some information, or not we, the California, the Firearms Policy Coalition, who I host a number of programs with. They actually did some research and found out that 80% of the people who went to court were deemed like, yeah, you probably should have had your rights. You should have had your rights taken away. 80% of them aren't even getting their firearms back.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, right? Is it because it's the anti-gun people that are the anti-gun sheriffs, the anti-gun courts that are taking those guns away, and then
Right.
once they take those guns away under the legitimate law that they have in place, although it's an unconstitutional law, then they refuse to give them back because there's no due process in a red flag order or red flag laws. They take the guns and refuse to give them back because that was the goal all along, Craig, was to remove the guns from the people, from society. It doesn't matter how or when.
When we say they're coming
no
for,
matter what.
yeah, when we say they're coming for our guns, we're not lying.
Yeah.
We are not lying. It is the truth. Red flag laws are a gun confiscation program, period, plain and simple. And one only need look at what they promote, which is the number of firearms that they confiscate.
Exactly right. Yeah. If this was a real program, they would take them and they would get the people the help that they needed, whether it be temporary or more full time mental health or crisis intervention, whatever
Right.
it happens to be. And then once that was done, they would give the firearms back to them at a minimum, so they could take. Listen, firearms not for you anymore, but we'd say, why don't you go sell it to a legitimate dealer, and you can get $400 or $500, and maybe that would help to go towards your treatment. They don't do any of that. This is all about, like you just said, the number of guns they can take from you.
Exactly. We all know this. And we all know that, well, quite frankly, we don't know that they are not following the numbers, or as they like to say with COVID, following the science. Because if they were following the science, they would know that as they go to increase gun confiscation, well, one would think that as gun confiscation goes up and gun control goes up, well, you would think that the murder rate would go down. Well, guess what? Such is not the case. In fact, information and data is out there that, well, the murder rate has actually reached 1990s levels. I mean, we're talking Clinton era murder numbers. And once again, most of these, quite frankly, are in areas that have high gun control. Places that limit your ability to defend yourself is where most of these murders are taking place.
Yeah, this is crazy. Look at New York City. How many times do we have to use this as the example? You have the murder rate and the shooting rate has gone up 10 times there, which is 1,000%. By the way, it's gone up that much because all of the people that are law-abiding citizens, those that have been told, listen, we still have a curfew, we still have mask restrictions, COVID restrictions, you can't come out, you can't do this. Those people have stayed away. So now you've got all these criminals running the streets of Manhattan again. And it's like it's literally the Wild West. But guess what? It is with the criminals. This is not the law-abiding citizens there. Law-abiding citizens can't have firearms, so they don't go into the city. It's the criminals that have stolen guns. They're bad people, and they are evil, and they are out there doing these things, and the rates have gone up. Now, that's just recently. That's just what during the COVID in New York City. But it has gone crazy everywhere else. Every place you look. I'm in Orlando, and the murder rate is the highest here it's been in 30 years.
Well, here's the thing. Based on the numbers from last year, what we know is New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles haven't even submitted their data to the FBI yet, and we know that those numbers are even higher than they were the year before. Yeah. But in major cities, most major cities, like 22 major cities, other than those three, the numbers are up even higher than that. They haven't been this high since the 1960s. That's how high the murder rate is up in our urban inner cities where gun control runs amok, where people have been disarmed. People are still killing each other. Funny how that works. One would think that if you took the guns away, that people would stop killing each other.
We take all the guns away, then there can never be any violence, right? Why don't we just make the law that says everybody has to hold hands all the time?
Right.
If you're holding hands,
exactly.
You can't hold a gun.
Exactly, because the bad guys will agree to give up their guns and hold hands.
Yeah,
That's how it works, right? You pass the law, and the bad guys just
yeah,
comply, right?
that's right. Yeah, this law is for you, bad people. We want you to obey this law. Oh, okay. This one. Oh, this one will obey this one. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But once again, we all know that it just doesn't work like that, right? We all know that when it comes to things like gun control, that you know, we don't really need anyone to really enforce the law because, law enforcement has got it, right? Well, that is unless, of course, you're Antifa. As we all know, Antifa, who loves government, who loves law enforcement, the anti-fascists have to go after law enforcement. Well, they decided that they would honor law enforcement in this particular case during an event where they were honoring law enforcement. Antifa decided to show up, burn an American flag, and scream out "Death to America." Now, what exactly does that have to do with, even if they're just anti-cop, what does chanting "Death to America" have to do with law enforcement?
Well, listen, we know that these people are idiots. They should. I don't know why they call it Antifa. They just should be called, group of morons is what their name should be. Yeah, this happened in Bellevue, Washington. By the way, the home of the Second Amendment Foundation. So hello to all our friends and folks out there. And yeah, it was the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association Law Enforcement Appreciation Dinner. They invited every law enforcement department in the state of Washington, and it was a really good thing. And then Antifa found out, and like you said, they showed up, and because they're anti-fascists, the motto that they adopted was "Death to America," because that clearly makes sense, Craig. Well, I don't like fascism. I don't want to see people hurt or go under fascist rule, so I will say "Death to America."
Yeah, I'm just not getting that, and I'm still trying to figure out. Okay, so once again, these are people who are literally chanting "Death to America," and yet I hear nothing about the FBI declaring these people to be terrorist groups.
Right.
I mean, if you say "God bless America" and respect the flag, you're deemed a terrorist group by our Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah.
But if you burn the flag and chant "Death to America," well, you're just dangerous.
Ridiculous. Listen, if any of you any Antifas, you group of morons, are listening to us right now, listen. Let Craig and I help you out on your messaging. Perhaps you should yell "Death to fascism" if you're anti.
How about that?
So I'm just listen. I'm not an expert on your message out there, but if you're anti-fascist, maybe "Death to fascist" might be the right message.
You would think that since most of these folks are young white college students, that they would know better. Maybe that college degree would have taught them better, but evidently it doesn't appear to be working.
It's funny you mentioned that. Last night I was talking to a group of college-aged people, and one of them had a communications degree, and I said, what is a communications degree?" And he said, "Well, it's hard to explain." I was like, "Wait a second! You have a degree in communications, and you can't explain to me what your degree is?"
No, wait. Let me clean that joke up for you. You have a degree in communications, and you can't communicate to me what it means.
I walked away. I was like, "Okay, I'm just."
If I were you, I would go get my money back.
Yeah. That's true story, folks. True story.
True story. Oh, well, let's talk about another true story. Let's talk about another American patriot. Let's talk about Rashid Tlaib, member of the Squad in Washington, D.C., who is, basically is in all of her policies promoting death to America, one cut at a time through legislative socialism. She now has her eyes on Israel and is declaring that Israel is in the midst of ethnic cleansing. If you've been anywhere near the news, you know that Palestine and Israel have been at it for a while now, and you know that. You also know that Palestine has launched, or Hamas has launched, hundreds of rockets into residential communities in Israel. And I'm trying to figure out exactly. So if they're launching hundreds of rockets into Israel, how exactly does that make Israel guilty of ethnic cleansing?
You know, this is a tough one, and we can go so many different ways with this. The politics in this one here. First off, she's an idiot. How she's still in office, how she hasn't been removed for treason and sedition with her words, I don't know. I don't know how the rest of Congress has not voted her out. Even the Democrats look at her and say, okay, this one, listen, maybe we could deal with the moron AOC, but this one, she's when she married her brother, and she's lied on everything that she's ever done when it comes to background checks, and she's anti-American, so let's, how she's in there, I don't even know. But let's look what's going on in Israel. And you were right, Craig, when you said Palestine. No, you said Hamas. They are the same right now. Hamas is the ruling government party in Palestine, in the area of Palestine. So they are synonymous. How is the world not taking action on this? If this had been any other president than the one we have right now, let's go use the last one, for instance, and somebody started launching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rockets against one of our closest allies, would we be doing nothing like we're doing right now?
Well, here's my question. Would we expect, if Cuba decided to start launching rockets at Washington, D.C., what would we expect our president, our government to do? Heck, if they started launching them at Tallahassee, right? What would we expect the government to be doing? We'd expect them to bomb the bejesus out of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And this isn't even that much of a whodunit. This is more of a Tijuana launching rockets at San Diego. I mean, it's over the fence,
Right.
We see where they're coming from. I don't need a satellite and a news crew to go out there and find out where this came from. We're watching them launch and come from there. You're throwing rockets at us, and you want the rest of the world to do, oh, no, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything. Nothing at all.
Well, but dude, how crazy is this? Now, think about this, though. When was the last time you heard about rockets on the regular being launched into Jerusalem, into Israel, from Hamas? When was the last time? Think about it.
Oh, that's simple. That would have been during the Obama presidency, and previous to that, during the Bill Clinton presidency.
Gosh, I'm trying to think. There were a couple of other presidents somewhere in there where this just didn't appear to be happening as much. At least there was one really recently. What was his name again? The orange guy.
Yeah, Badman Orange.
Badman Orange, right?
Yeah.
But
guess what Palestine and Hamas didn't pull then when he was in office?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, but once again, that was when I'm like this. You know what? My goal is if we can't be respected, I'd rather us be feared. Because if nothing else, people are going to look at us and say, before I go and I attack an ally of the United States, I need to think about it, because that could end really, really bad for me. Instead, we cozy up to our enemies, because think about this. Biden just re-entered or is attempting to re-enter the agreement with Iran, which is basically going to give them billions of dollars, put billions of dollars in their hands, which is then going to, a portion of that at least, is going to go to Hamas so that they can buy more rockets to launch at Israel.
Wow. But they don't see that, right? Because we gotta buy them off. That's what we have to do. We're just gonna give them money because we want their cooperation.
And at the same time, we're going to tell our allies, Israel, well, why don't you just let them drop rockets in your lap? I mean, come on. I mean, really, just let them attack you. It is odd. It is beyond odd. It is beyond scary, and the fact that the American people put up with it is saddening.
What if we stood outside the fences and the gates in D.C. and started hurtling rocks and bottles at the White House? You think that would be? Evidently, that's okay. We're allowed to do that.
Well, if you're Antifa, it's okay. If you are a Trump supporter, it's not.
Right, there you go. All right, so we'll just have to write Antifa on the rock and on the bottle, and then we can throw it in. Because we're not attacking the White House at that point. We're just sharing rocks and bottles with them.
But think about this. We're passing laws and we're letting criminals out on the streets.
Yeah.
And then we're passing laws to make criminals of gun owners who just want to defend themselves from those folks who are, committing crimes against them. I mean,
it's funny how that works, isn't it? Just funny how that works.
And just so you guys know, There is one party that is primarily doing this and another party that is primarily opposing it. I'm not saying that there aren't people in either party that are on the other side of that. I'm just saying that, generally, Democrats are on the wrong side, Republicans are on the right side. Generally.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
moving right along. There's something else where they have proven to be on the wrong side of, and that is gun buyback programs. Now, we've talked about it on this program more than once. We have made fun of those who have instituted gun buyback programs. But just in case you were wondering, our opposition it isn't just based on anecdotes or anecdotal evidence that they don't work. There's actually a study out by the National Bureau of Economic Research, once again, proving that, they're saying with 95% certainty that gun buyback programs have absolutely no effect on gun violence. And these are by economists. These are not medical doctors like the quacks over there at UC Davis who are studying anti-gun policies. These are economists who actually study human behavior, right? The people who are probably a lot more qualified, once again, than the quacks over at UC Davis. The medical doctors, that's why I'm calling them quacks. But they, once again, have demonstrated, gun buyback programs don't work. Waste of taxpayer dollars.
We know this, right? We see this every time we see one of these programs, a gun buyback program. We know it doesn't work. We know all it is the government giving away your hard-earned tax dollars for their feel-good, and that's what these are, feel-good programs. Oh, look, we took the gun off the street. We've already had this conversation today with you folks. They took the gun. It's the gun. The gun's the problem. Listen, the gun's not the problem. And these guns, by the way, when you look at them, these are the kind of guns that they used to hold up stagecoaches with or something crazy. These are not guns that are being used today. These are crap that people that are hard up for cash might go out and steal guns or find the old grandpa guns and bring them in and then get the money for them. These are not programs that work. And if it's Walmart or somebody else, because they do this all the time, not to single them out, that are giving away gift cards or whatever for the programs, well, guess what, for folks, that means your price of whatever you buy at Walmart is going to go up too, because although they say it's charity, it all comes from somewhere.
Well, what's interesting, and I keep trolling all of these stories because I'm looking for them to show another time where they're saying, "Oh, look, we confiscated a rocket launcher."
Yeah.
And then you go and you show what they have, and it has like an old empty tube.
Yep.
That's now just a display.
Yep.
When you can buy it like the Army surplus for like $10,
Yep.
and then you go and you give it to them and you get $100 gift card.
Absolutely right. And anybody that's ever served in the military looks at it and goes, the yellow bands around it, folks, that means it's been deactive for years and it's a training aid. But you know what? They don't recognize that, and they give you $100 for basically a PVC pipe.
That's because they're not that bright.
Yep, exactly right. Another group of morons.
Some of you will get that.
That should be the theme for today's show, Craig. Groups of morons. We have them with us everywhere.
Groups of morons. All right, moving right along. Next, we have our parting shot. Now, for our parting shot today, I thought that this one was highly appropriate because, we like to joke a lot here. And because we like to joke a lot, I realize that sometimes we're going to offend people. And we know that in this day and age, offending people leads to cancel culture. And so thus, today's parting shot, I'm a big fan. I go to my wife and I, when the world is together, when we're watching, we watch a lot of and like to listen to a lot of stand-up comedy because they're really good at taking like the real world, what really goes on. They exaggerate it to the point where it's hysterical and where it's funny. Yeah. And I think the best of the First Amendment is exercised by by comedians because they generally walk right up to the line. And oftentimes when you walk right up to that line, every once in a while, you're going to step on it or step over it a little bit. And it seems like nowadays, they're not even allowed to even get close to the line.
Listen, not even get close to the line, Craig. They're going back and digging into what comedians said 10, 20, 30 years ago and ostracizing them for things that they said back then as whether it was acceptable comedy. And I'm not talking about, horrible things, oppression or race issues or anything like that. I'm just saying regular, everyday comedy, that they're going after people for. And I think the one that's out there, and I think we may have talked about this previously, is Dave Chappelle, and Dave Chappelle, I think, is the one that may be bringing a turn to what we've seen from some of the cancel culture. His comedy, and he attacks it. He attacks those people straight on, and attacks the media straight on, and calls them idiots and morons. So it's good to see that some other comedians now are starting to follow his lead and try to take back what the cancel culture, the woke crowd, and everybody else has tried to take away from comedy. Because comedy is, like you said, it's an amplification of society out here on our views.
Well, it is, and some of the most controversial, I think, political or societal dialogue takes place in comedy. It's supposed to be taking place at universities, but we already know that cancel culture is alive and well at our universities. Let's not let it happen in society as a whole, in particular in comedy. But anyway, that's why I thought this one in particular was such a good example for today. Because folks, look, we're going to continue to try and be funny and talk about stuff and talk about controversial stuff on this program. And if you don't like it, here's what you do. You don't watch.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Turn the channel. Go look at TikTok videos or something instead.
Exactly. Go face your Tic Tac or something.
That's it. There you go.
There you go. Go tweet. Go face tweet your Tic Tac.
That's it. Yeah, check out my face page.
My face page. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for this episode of The Rundown. We very much appreciate you guys liking and sharing. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you guys sign up. And you need to watch tomorrow. We're going to be live. We're going to be taking your feedback. So we need you guys there. We need you guys to participate. Show our sponsor at Grid Defense that you guys got a lot to say.
Yeah, show them some love. Listen, we're always live, but tomorrow we got the live feedback portion. It's going to be Feedback Friday. Again, top comment. I'm going to give you one of these 80% pieces of aluminum is what you're going to get from Grid Defense. So make sure you, like Craig said, check out Grid Defense. Google them up, Grid Defense, and you'll see this product there. $100, $100 what these normally run for every day. Right now, they're actually running for more because of the push to take them away from you. So you're getting a really good deal here. And again, thanks for Grid Defense. Thanks for you. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. We will talk to you all again tomorrow.
See you in 24.